Hey guys, did you know that the Bible mentions heart, like the biblical aspect of heart, 1,000 times? So if a heart is mentioned 1,000 times, it must be something pretty significant if God is mentioning it that many times in his word. And so we look at the biblical aspects of our hearts, not the human aspects, but we could kind of apply the human aspects of it. If we look at the biblical aspects of it, our heart is where our emotions, our intellect, our will, our desires, all of that great stuff resides. In Jeremiah, he calls our hearts deceitful. But in Proverbs, God tells us we are to guard our hearts above all things because everything we do flows from it. So welcome to a daily dose of God. We do 3-minute devotionals for you to get connected or stay connected and jumpstart your devotional time with God in 2026 and beyond, right? We need God. So we are in Proverbs and we are doing 31 days of Proverbs and we are in chapter 4. And Proverbs in chapter 4 tends to give us a lot of direction. It talks about how we're supposed to get wisdom at any cost, how important wisdom is. We've been talking about that the past couple of days, how we're supposed to grab it. But it also tells us that we are to walk on paths of righteousness. And it tells us that when we walk on the paths of righteousness, righteousness just means to do right. Where it says the path of righteousness is like a morning sun shining bright. But then it contrasts and says the path of wickedness is deep darkness. And it's saying that it is so deep in darkness that you won't even know what makes you stumble when you are walking in that deep darkness. So it's telling us, okay, you know what? Grab the wisdom, walk on paths of righteousness, and even more so, it goes further. And this is when I'm pretty sure you may have heard this verse. It's a somewhat popular verse, but it says, above all, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Another mention of our hearts. Biblically, our hearts are where our emotions, our intellect, our will, our desires, that's where all this resides spiritually and biblically. So when we're talking about it, he's not talking about, the biological aspects of it. He's saying guard your spiritual heart where your emotions reside, where your intellect resides, where your will and desires dwell. Guard that above all things, because if we don't, guess what it's going to be? Deceitful. Our emotions can be very deceitful for us because I feel this way, so I'm going to act this way. You know what I mean? I want this, so I'm going to get it. And it takes us into that deep darkness of paths instead of walking on the righteousness if we are not guarding it and putting God at the center of it. If our heart is the center and it's where all of that resides, God must be at that center too. So get in Proverbs with us, read it, and we'll be back tomorrow for another daily dose of God. Bye, guys.